Well, happy Monday and happy holidays, everybody. Everyone who is celebrating Labor Day, and those of you who are, what I believe is Target fans who are celebrating the long weekend sale. Welcome to the first live stream that I've had in a very, very long time. We were going to hop right into it, and there's been some news. There's been some breaking ground, allegedly, in the legalizing marijuana um, space. So we're going to kind of look into this. We're going to see if we can find some good speaking points and kind of bounce off of some things. And the only person I really see spearheading bringing this conversation into fruition, into the world, is none other than Pigeons 420. What is up, Tim Yak? It is good to see you. Long time no see is very factual, and I'm so happy to be back talking to you guys. And so I'm going to share this link and just let people filter in if that's what they're going to do. I'm going to share this link onto my Discord, and I'm also going to share a Discord link into the chat. And then we're just kind of going to get into um, the live stream and seeing if we can find any actual evidence that this is an actual conversation that's being talked about. Because a lot of presidents do like to hold marijuana legalization up like a hot dog on a stick and act like they're going to be the ones to legalize it. They're going to be the ones bringing it into fruition, and they're going to be the ones who are finally going to free us who have been fighting for so fucking long to actually have this be a thing. And the Discord is a really good place for if you want to reach me when I'm offline, or if you just want to share and have conversations about um, the plant we all know and love, and get some feedback from people in our community. It's weed, smoke, and mirrors for absolute sure. For sure, man. So I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to have the chat open so I can read what you guys are saying in real time. And President Trump just changed the cannabis something. So we'll get right into that one. Oh, fuck. I don't have my earbuds. Build a website you love. That's not good, y'all. Technical difficulties. Gotta find my earbuds. I will be right back. See, that didn't take very long at all now, did it? Sorry about the delay. While we're getting set up, how's everyone's gardens doing? And how's everyone's Labor Day and whatnot? With Wix. Theater mode, baby. For your words. What's better for a viewing experience? Just the regular screen, or theater mode, do you guys think?
2 days ago, President Trump came out in a press conference.
Of course, they make things up, but we have to hear the conversation to get even some sort of context, in my opinion. Because here's my thing. Politicians, they lie all the time. They are wishy-washy. They don't like to say what they're actually thinking, but I do need to hear what they are saying to speculate on what they are saying. Does that make any sense? And the only ones who are actually going to be able to make a change in the movement are the people in power. We are just a voice to say what the people want, but that does not mean that they have to put any of that into motion. So whether or not we like it or want to accept it, we do have to pay attention to what politicians are saying to actually understand what could potentially be going down in the world, or if they're just going about it in a way like they have been to dodge the issue, move the goalpost, whatever it is they want to do, to make it seem like they're on our side. So we need to look into that, do an investigation into that, and find out what is actually going on. And having the actual conversation is the only way we are going to be able to move things along.
And made some comments that have put our industry on its toes.
I'm shocked.
And I want to dive into this article here by The Hill. The
Also,
Trump
shout out
administration may
Also, shout out to Pigeons. I've been a loving and respecting viewer for a very long time. Even before I started growing, I used his channel as a huge reference for when he was growing things like Holland's Hope back in the day, back when he was growing in actual like bedrooms and closets and all that stuff. Just way back in the day, he was growing a ton of plants, wasn't growing in a tent yet. Wasn't even showing his face. I watched him years before his face reveal.
reclassify cannabis. Would that make it legal in the U?
So your stance is they're using it to cover up the Epstein, like the Epstein list, the Epstein's horrors. They're using it as a distraction. If that were true, they're not doing it very well. If that were true, in my opinion, they aren't doing it very well because they are two separate conversations. And we're not going to vote for somebody who's on the Epstein files just because they're going to legalize weed. They have to know that. But maybe they don't. Maybe they're just that stupid. So I guess we'll find out.
At the end of last year, it seemed that marijuana could be rescheduled in the U.S. That idea came screeching to a halt when proceedings were put on pause in January. There were early hopes that the then incoming Trump administration would get the ball rolling, but that didn't immediately materialize either. On Monday, however, President Donald Trump confirmed his administration is, quote, looking at reclassification of marijuana as a, quote, less dangerous drug. Quote, we're looking at reclassification and we'll make a determination over, I'd say, the next few weeks, end quote. Trump said during a press conference on The Hill. This press conference is just a 90-second clip.
Expect more cities to follow DC's path if this goes through. So the idea is that Chicago, LA, San Francisco, would they expect similar action what we've seen in DC? Any other questions, sir? There's reporting that the administration is going to reclassify
Looks like he's
marijuana.
frozen.
Would that send mixed messages that if marijuana is okay, some drugs are okay, but we're trying to clean up crime? How do they go hand in hand?
We're only looking at that. That's early, but somebody reported it, which is fine. We're looking at it. Some people like it, some people hate it. Some people hate the whole concept of marijuana because if it does bad for the children, it does bad for people that are older than children.
Does bad
We're
for the
looking
children.
at reclassification, and we'll make a determination over the next few weeks. And that determination hopefully will be the right one. It's a very complicated subject, the subject of marijuana. I've heard great things having to do with medical, and I've had bad things having to do with just about everything else. But medical and, for pain and various things.
So, they are self-focused, not stupid. Please realize they have their motivations. Please don't show Trump. Well, it's kind of hard not to show Trump because he's kind of the president of the United States, if you haven't noticed. I'm not going to say whether or not I support him. I think it's going to be pretty obvious when we have conversations about him going forward. But what he just said there, he said that studies showing marijuana, well, he didn't even say studies. He's just saying, oh, it's bad for the children. It's bad for people older than children. Whatever the fuck that means. I think he meant to say adults there, but he's not really coherent. But my question is, when it comes to marijuana not being safe for children, therefore it shouldn't be legalized, why then tobacco? Why then alcohol? Why is it easier to buy a gun than it is to buy marijuana? Why is it so so blatantly obvious that you guys don't have a foot to stand on, and all you're working off of is lies and fear when it comes to keeping marijuana illegalized. But you hold it in front of us like it's going to happen, knowing it's not going to happen.
I've heard some pretty good things, but for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things. The other part of your question, I mean, we're just going to see what happens with it all. We're going to have a tremendous success in what we're doing. Other cities are hopefully watching this. They're all watching, just like everyone's watching here. They're all watching. And maybe they'll self-clean up.
Interesting end to that segment, but
that was it.
yeah, there was a little bit more.
There's no... What I hate most about Trump, aside from the fact that he's a felon, aside from the fact that he makes so many enemies, what I hate about Trump as a person is that when he talks, he doesn't actually ever say anything. And when he does make the mistake of saying something that actually has substance, it's a very, very detrimental thing to a group of people, whether it's women, whether it's Mexicans, whether it's Ukrainians, the Islamic people, whether it's praising North Korea or Russia. There is some like serious sour intention behind it if he actually says anything at all. But what we just witnessed was the 90-second press conference of the marijuana legalization or rescheduling, whatever it is, the rescheduling. And he said, well, I've heard some bad things about it, and we're just going to have to kind of see what happens. As if he has no say in what happens. He, like, just completely washed over what he thinks or what the bad things he's hearing are, even. So what kind of trust am I to have in this person who can't even speak a stance? Not even, like, even if it weren't his stance, just say a stance, like hold something to it. Go fucking 10 toes down on anything if you can even stand on business like that. Like, he doesn't even do shit. He doesn't say anything. And I think the biggest reason is that he's facing a problem that a lot of presidents face, which are there are people in the background who are calling the shots and saying things and changing their minds every 10 seconds dependent on what the government wants to do. And he can't come out like straight and be like, well, I want to be a dictator and this is what I want to have happen, so it's going to happen. He has to wash over it and then have the shit happen later. Seriously, though, no one wants to hear a known rapist speak. Facts. President Sorry, my opinion, religious control is involved. Insurance and pharmacy companies are involved. Probably because they're big sponsors to his pockets being lined. Firm grasp on politicians speak. How can I tell if a politician is lying? They have their mouth open, and that's all straight facts. If they are talking, they are most likely not telling you the truth. But a good caveat to that is we need to hear the politicians speak so we can call them out on their lies later. So that we can say, hey, this is what he said, but this is what's actually going on. These are the actions that are happening, and actions speak louder than words. So maybe, just maybe, if a president is saying something, maybe we shouldn't believe it next time because of what happened before. But a lot of people, especially his followers, do not have pattern recognition skills. So it's very hard to bring this evidence to people who support him because they're all so fucking brainwashed. Yeah, and now people are super offended about it and emotional, and they melt over it like snowflakes, even though people who oppose him are snowflakes. But they're the ones who get offended really quick when you say something about him. Even if you're telling the truth about him, you say anything true about him, it's negative, therefore you are a snowflake, and I'm not offended. I'm just really pissed off on his behalf. Well, what would you call that?
Where he
But
went
let's
on
move
to
on.
kind of refer to this information about how
because he didn't make a
Colorado's
point.
gone downhill since legalization, and there's still a running mucks of crime and yada yada yada. Now,
And it would be one thing too. I'm just gonna put this here real quick. If he came on to the podium and he said it's dangerous for families, it's dangerous for children because researching, and I am not citing any study. I'm making up numbers in my head. I am completely fabricating, telling a lie right now because I do not know any information that backs this claim I am about to say because it is completely hypothetical. However, if he came to this podium and he said, the reason I believe it is dangerous for children to have access or be in a state where it is legal for marijuana to be purchased is because in states where it is legal for persons over 21 or with a medical card at 18 years or older, we are seeing a exponential increase in those children in that state getting access to marijuana and giving it to their classmates and exposing more people to marijuana than would have been. And we are also seeing direct links to cognitive disabilities or lack in brain development, therefore potentially damaging the future of our country by damaging children with the substance. But he did not say that. He did not cite any sources. He did not say any facts backing his claim. He is not coherent when he does speak. So who would back this? They're just taking his word for it? What kind of fucking bullshit is that? Where am I getting the facts about damaged brains? I literally just said I was going to lie and fabricate something to make a point where if he said that, he would have more to stand on. However, he didn't make any of those claims. So I'm not claiming that. I am giving an example of something that he could possibly maybe say that would make sense. And maybe it would make sense that people would back him. However, he just didn't make a stance. He didn't say anything that was relatively coherent. He didn't make any claims of any sort that should lead you to believe that it's dangerous for marijuana to be accessed. It just isn't there. So there, you know.
The thing that I found interesting was that A, he's heard good things about cannabis, but B, he's heard bad things about cannabis. And the reality is that I feel like the bad things he's heard has only come via lobbying from from corporate powers, such as big tobacco.
So I don't know if you missed out on my disclaimer there.
Too fast, Trevor, too fast.
I don't know if you missed out on my disclaimer where I straight out said I was going to lie.
Insurance
Yeah,
rates.
but who has time to deal with that?
Not you, clearly. But the Zebra does. We compare over 100 insurance companies to find savings no one else can. Up to
Static ability to say nothing using rhetoric.
Look,
Yeah,
that's my
for
stuff.
a fact. And Trump,
Big alcohol.
if we're being 100% honest, Trump isn't even good at that because he does, not only does he not dodge points in a smart way, which there's no smart way to dodge points, but that aside, he just doesn't say anything when he speaks. And I have something I call people who talk but they don't actually say anything. I call them empty calorie speakers because they're using words, but it has no substance. It has no nutritional value. There's no protein, there's no fat, there's no actual carbohydrates that are going to do something for you. It's just talking just to talk. And I feel like Trump does that the most out of any person I have ever witnessed ever. And somehow he leads the country.
Alcohol, firearms, these.
So I just said straight up fake facts to make a point that would be coherent if he had said that. So I'm sorry if anyone misinterpreted that. There are studies that show that marijuana is linked to lagged brain development, but I don't know if that is quote unquote dangerous. Sure, your brain's not going to be as developed, but if you're using it to help with chemotherapy, that's obviously I would rather have marijuana help me with chemotherapy and my brain be a little bit stunted. But if you're 18 and you have a medical card, you should be allowed to make that choice. I don't know who can argue that. Focus on the negatives of cannabis. You could not get financially supported unless you had negative. See, that's another problem. So hash Julio. So basically, we're talking about the rescheduling slash potential legalization of cannabis, and we are trying to find out what President Trump's stance is in it at this very moment. So, I mean, even if they're focused only on the negative studies, if they found those in a study, um, those are things that could potentially be going on. And the caveat to that is they're not focusing on the positives, which is a problem, obviously. But if they found those negatives in a legitimate study, who am I to argue that those negatives aren't the thing? While at the same time being upset that they're not talking about the positive effects that it has on the human mind, brain, perspective, health, things like
These
that.
industries
So
don't want to see cannabis.
it's a two-sided coin.
And the same thing too is last week we mentioned that the CEO from Scott's Miracle Grow had a conversation with Trump and mentioned that there would be some movement on reclassification. I think it's very interesting, perhaps coincidental, that we're seeing some movement on reclassification just a week after we hear a conversation of the CEO from Scott's Miracle Grow, which some would argue is one of the largest corporate actors in our space. Owns a number of companies that we've heard of and many we haven't, but it's interesting that this comes just on the heels of a conversation like that. Second thing I wanted to mention too was, I'm going to refer to these as my friends over at In-House Genetics. In-House Genetics puts out a genius tweet as far as I'm concerned. And I say genius because this is exactly what I've been talking about. And I'll be honest, not a lot of people in our space talk about this stuff. And I often am the only person I hear with an opinion about things. And when I hear someone else talk about,
Yeah, I see you there, Pigeons. I have a lot of opinions that people don't share, so I guess we have that in common, or at least people don't talk about. Maybe they do share the opinions, but they don't want to talk about them. Things they don't want to look into. I am back, and I don't want to say on all problems I'm on your side, but in most problems I'm on your side. You're a very level-headed, reasonable person from my experience and being someone who listens to you on a regular basis. So if you're out there, hey, I'm on your side. I support you. We should legalize, not reschedule, because that opens a whole new can of worms. And if we do reschedule, it's possible that it's never going to get legalized. So we would be back to the 90s, the 70s, the 80s in terms of, how we have to do our operations and how we have to grow and how we have to hide the plant. Miracle Grow got me back to growing after a crash and burn and growing event. After a crash and burn growing event. Okay.
the same subject with an opinion, I'm like, wow, this is interesting. This is interesting because I kind of get an idea what happens inside things in the head of the people that work on over there. And I love that. I'm never going.
Please don't tell me you get your news from Pigeons 420. I don't purely get my news from Pigeons 420, but he's the only one I see really talking about this, and this is an issue I want to talk about. Therefore, I'm going to be looking at some of Pigeons 420's media. Does that mean he's the only one I get my news from? Absolutely not. In fact, I get most of my news from other sources. I only refer to Pigeons 420 when he's like the only one talking about something, and he does pretty good coverage on the things he talks about. So, no, I don't, in short. He's down to earth. He's intelligent. Sometimes I do have counterpoints for him, but I also don't legitimately understand the space as much, as he is like, 35? So he's been in the space longer. Well, maybe 32. I don't know. Anyone who knows his age, leave it down in the chat. But he's older than me. He's been in the space longer. He's been growing a decade longer than I have. I have a lot of respect for Pigeons, and he's been creating media for a long time. He knows how to put it together in a concise way with information. to base his opinions off of, and leaves room for interpretation for people who might feel something different. So I see him as a good place to refer to, especially when he's the only one covering this kind of stuff.
To judge somebody negatively. Maybe I'm going to judge somebody, but I'm never going to judge anyone negatively for an opinion you hold. If your opinion doesn't promote violence to other people or hatred to other people or the suppression of some people over others, it's like you're just a human being too. And
they do fuck with him pretty hard.
But needless to say, In-House Genetics pulls up this tweet.
Yeah. He has 120,000 subscribers almost. This video only got 8.4 thousand views. Do you really think that if he what's up, Dank Tech? Good to fucking see you. I'm really happy seeing so many people turn up for a live stream that just kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm very happy to be back to making content on YouTube. With that being said, do you think that if Pigeons 420 had like a meme channel, do you think if Pigeons 420 had a channel talking about the science of bears or just general gardening, that his channel with 120,000 subscribers would only have 8.4 thousand views in 12 days? Absolutely not. He would be closer to 90,000 views on this video. But since we talk about what we talk about, we don't get the same kind of respect.
Schedule 3 proposal is designed to create chaos and is one big grift by pharmaceutical industry. The proposal is purely to protect pharma profits at the expense of Americans. Deschedule would cause losses into the hundreds of billions in profit each year for the pharmaceutical industry. I think that's a fair assumption. I think that's a very fair assumption with the things that we know, and to project what would happen with legalization. I think that's a very fair statement. And
100%.
when you talk about hundreds of billions of dollars, is it possible that we could be in the trillions of dollars?
What's up, Sir Johnson? Good to see you. Those dollars are what we're fighting against to legalize weed. 100%. We are fighting against the dollars, and the people's word means nothing if it doesn't make the government money. I'm afraid if it becomes Schedule 3, that only pharmaceutical companies will be in control. Here, take your THC pill. I'm pretty sure it's already it's Schedule 3 right now, is it not? Oh, no, I'm getting my numbers mixed up. Schedule 1 is the less dangerous, and Schedule 3 is the more dangerous, and Schedule 3 is, or Schedule 1 is the most dangerous. I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Making it Schedule 3 would be a huge problem, rather than descheduling it, because Schedule 3 would basically if it were Schedule 3 right now, we'd have newspaper headlines. Who reads the newspaper anymore,
Think of the
man?
influence that has. Legalization became a reality through the likes of Charlotte and Rick Simpson, along with soccer moms that drove from Georgia to Colorado, defying federal.
Yeah. I just straight up don't think it'd be a good idea, because if they make it Schedule 3, then they would like make it only legal to use through medical use, and you would have to go through a doctor to see it. So my like beginning thoughts when it came to making marijuana Schedule 3, I was like, good, then they'd have to admit that it has therapeutic effects and it can be used in medical in medical applications without argument. And they would have to admit that they lied about the studies that people have been doing since the 60s, 70s, 80s. They would have to make it so we could get easier access to it. But the problem with that is they wouldn't make it an over counter thing. They would still make it prescription, which means we would have to have insurance pay for it. The prices would probably go through the roof because of price gouging. It would be shit product. I just got a text that our mailboxes were allegedly destroyed last night, so that's pretty cool. So I think I have to go collect my mail from the mailbox and probably come back. But I'll be a short walk. I'll probably be like 5, maybe 10 minutes if you guys want to hang out. I guess a bunch of weed supporting people are for the Schedule 3 changes. Yeah, that's because a lot of weed supporting people supporting the Schedule 3 change are ignorant because they don't understand the implications that that holds when it comes to home growing, because they'll still make that illegal. Um, Dispensaries would not be a thing because it would be sold through pharmacies. And similar to how big stores are closing down pharmacies like CVS, um, wow, um, CVS, Rite Aid, and places like that in towns where there are Myers and Walmarts, um, they would see an effect of dispensaries being shut down for the same reason that grocery stores were shut down when it was legal to actually buy from a dispensary. The dispensaries are taking all the traffic. People can just buy weed. They don't have to grow it. So the hydro stores shut down. Well, pharmacies start selling weed. They make it illegal for dispensaries to sell it for non-medical reasons. They only have a medical base to work off of. Well, the dispensary gets shut down because why would I go to a dispensary to get my medication when I could just go to the Meyer pharmacy and get my medication in the form of a THC pill, still get you high, still works, still all of that shit. And then the dispensary shut down. And then they lobby against home growers because they don't want people growing their own medication. Therefore, there goes home growing back to the black market and black market only. That is not something we want for America, and it's not something we want for the cannabis space. See, there you go, Sir Johnson, right there. Possession without a prescription is 2 to 5 years in prison. And sure, that's Texas, but they could definitely make that the rest of the world. So I will be back because I have to go deal with this mailbox situation. Oh, they didn't even like. Someone just hit them with a fucking hammer, it looks like. Yeah, I'll be back. I got to deal with this. Um, it says 12 on my screen, so shout out to you guys. I will be right back. This shit kind of fucking sucks. Not gonna lie. So that was a pretty ridiculous sight. I got two main rules I follow when being a fucking hooligan, or at least when I was a hooligan. Don't damage people and don't damage their property. Minor inconveniences and fucking something you can like just kind of brush off your shoulder and ignore. No fucking big deal. But destroying 4 fucking mailboxes, I wish I could have shot them.
Federal law so their kids could find relief from seizures. This happened because Western medicine failed them and they seek alternative solutions. Did we forget how we got here? Can't see. Pharma wants to deny people alternatives to their synthetic medicines that in many cases cause more harm than good. There's no money in cures and illegal if you...
That's another fucking thing too. Like, whatever damage marijuana causes, the pharmaceutical medicine causes it even more. There's like a million side effects that they need to speed up the recordings of to put on their fucking ads. And no one really pays attention to those. They're just like, oh, you have IBS or what the fuck ever? Well, take this medication that's going to paralyze you and probably kill you, give you nightmares and suicidal thoughts and actions, and, you know, maybe it'll still let you shit yourself.
Find a solution to your ailments.
Shout out to Vivo Sun for sponsoring today's video.
All right,
Vivo
ad
Sun
break.
has been in the game for a very long time. Whether you're looking for grow tents or smart controllers, Vivo Sun has you covered.
Visit vivosun.com, use promo code PIGEONS420 and save 15% off your purchase.
If you're looking for smart air filtration or a grow hub, they have got you covered. And thank Vivo Sun for being a sponsor of today's video.
You don't need to stress out about car insurance. You just go to Insurify.
They can help you save money and headaches.
No spam, no calls, no fees.
You can do this entirely online.
Before Insurify, it would take you hours of phone calls.
And look, I'm already done. That is my current bill cut in half.
If you need help...
Shout out to Seedsman. If you're looking for some quality genetics,
Seedsman, I also affiliate with them.
Check out Seedsman. Use promo code PIGEONS420. They're working with some of the best breeders in the game to hook you up with quality genetics. Check them out. Use promo code.
So not only did you buy a seed warmer, but you also didn't know you had to adjust the device to keep the temperature. Did they not send directions to you? Like a piece of paper that said, hey, you should adjust this. Again, were there like directions sent to you, like a piece of paper that said, hey, here's how you adjust the temperature and this is what it should be set at? Ricky Bobby Williams, what's good, man? Bongs up. Also, yeah, why are you like warming your seeds? Like, what's the purpose of that? Was it like a seedling warming, like you were trying to germinate them, or was it like you were warming them for storage because normally they're stored in cooler places?
PIGEONS420.
Like a refrigerator.
And thank them both for sponsoring today's video. Boy, did that get summed up wonderfully. So for those of you throwing out in-house genetics in the chat, man, those are my peeps, dude. Those are my peeps. And not specifically because I agree with them in this particular case, but because they're willing to speak their mind. And you might think, well, doesn't everybody think this way? Nope. Nope.
Did you have them sitting right on the, like directly on the warmer? Because you're not supposed to do that either. Is it a seed mat or a seedling mat at that point? Because I have a seed mat. I can't remember what the brand is on it, but I haven't had any problems with it killing my stuff. But it also has an automatic temperature that is appropriate. I don't have to adjust anything. It's just plug it into the wall. And you don't need to. I wouldn't waste money on one either.
There are a lot of people that don't think we should legalize at all.
It cooked them like seed soup. What setup did you have? What actually was going on? Crippled Cannabis Cowboy, good to see ya.
Which I think is a valid argument, and I enjoy.
Like the only reason
argue about that, and I mean
the only reason I had it is because the room I was germinating in was cold. It was a cold room. It was like 60 degrees in here almost. So I did need to warm up the temperature, the immediate temperature, by setting the seed dome on top of a seed warming mat.
Argue as in like argue your point, have a debate, have a conversation. So when people claim that they don't want to see legalization, I get it. That's a valid argument. But the reality too is that a lot of people believe that rescheduling cannabis
Good to
is
see you, Nate C.
positive purely on the fact that it's movement at all. And I think that's troublesome. I think that's troublesome. The same
It's not a bad
thing
setup,
goes
Timiak.
for decriminalization. Decriminalization is the worst idea that we could do. So
Bad
is
one.
reclassification. It's a distraction. It is a
Yep.
distraction. We're expected to eat this up.
The tactic that they're going for here is to take the problem and move it somewhere else. So it looks like it went somewhere. But the problem is that we've been fighting this for so long that the only satisfactory answer would be full legalization. Why? Because these fucking idiots think that if we just move it somewhere, if we reschedule it, if we did decriminalize it, then we're going to ignore the problem at hand, which is full legalization. It's what we want. It's what we've always wanted. That's the issue that we're fighting here. But they think that if we reschedule it or we decriminalize it or we release more medical programs or something like that, like we make it look like there's progress being made, that we're just going to sit back and be like, oh, look, they're working on it. They're moving it in a direction. Fuck no. Fuck no. They've done this forever. They've jerked us around. They've pretended that they're going to do something. Just fucking legalize the plant. That's it. That's all you have to do. That's the whole fucking thing.
Eat it up. Eat it up. Don't ask questions. But I disagree. I disagree. Reclassification is just taking it.
Will Schedule 3 open up the door to Big Pharma? Yes, it will. And then they will be the only ones to have it. They have all the money. They have all the power. They're going to be the ones to lobby against the public having it. Because I just explained this a minute ago. You can go back and stream. But basically, in a nutshell, Big Pharma reschedules marijuana to Schedule 3. Okay, therapeutic medical purposes proven, admitting that the studies were correct on it. Okay, Big Pharma gets access to marijuana and they can legally sell it. What the fuck do you think they're going to do then? You think they're going to be like, oh, well, we can sell marijuana and it's cool that other people get to too for medical purposes. No, they're going to lobby and be like, well, if it's medical, they can't use it for recreational. That is completely fucking an abomination. We got to lobby against recreational. So then dispensaries will have only avenue they can go is medical programs. So they can only sell medical weed. Well, that lowers their base so much when they're already suffering and making no money, at least the biggest ones. So they'll be suffering, making even less money and have less money to put back into it and reinvest into cannabis. And then Big Pharma will be like, look, they can't even hold their own feet up. They're not able to do this. They're not able to take it on. So we're going to lobby against them selling it in the first place. Okay, now you can't get marijuana in stores, but wait, we have a big problem because now people can grow it at home. So we have the hydro stores shut down because they're shut down from the dispos selling weed. We have the dispos shut down because now we're selling weed. Well, what are we going to lobby against next? Well, people are growing at home. That's a huge problem to our bottom line, and I won't be able to get a 7th vacation home that has 7 stories if these guys can grow at home. So guess what? We're going to lobby against them growing at home, so you're going to make it so it's illegal to grow at home. You can't buy seeds online unless you go through a rigorous process, unless, of course, we privatize it and we're the only ones who can breed seeds. And then it's like we're not even breeding for the people and things that would actually be good. So then we're going to start seeing things like the plant not doing as much as it used to because people don't care about it. So now we're going to have an inferior product. It's the only thing we're going to have legal access to, and Big Pharma is the only one who profits. And regular people don't give a fuck because regular people aren't fucking home growers who grow their own top quality cannabis, so they won't know the fucking difference. So they're going to eat that shit up like nobody's business. And they're going to be like, what are you fucking complaining about? It's completely legal. I can get a prescription and I can go to the pharmacy and I can get high anytime I want. No matter how easy it is to get a prescription for marijuana, it is still a problem if you can get a prescription for marijuana and that's the only way you can get it. I'm sorry. That's the only answer. It is garbage. It is shit, and they're feeding it to you like you should be thankful. End of rant. I said in a nutshell, and then I went on this big fucking problem. What's good, Jonathan? Good to see you. A crushed oyster shell with Epsom salt was added. I don't know. I don't feed organic. I would talk to someone who's more qualified. It won't nip us in the butt. It'll throw us all in prison. That's a good point, Hashelo. Yeah, I didn't even know that. So yeah, like all of our home grows would be illegal if it were rescheduled. So I would just solve that problem right away. Also, crippled cannabis cowboy, you're not the only one who's I'm very sorry for your disease, but this helps so many people too because like regular people like me who work tough, like labor intensive blue collar jobs, it wears us the fuck down. And I have a hard time getting out of bed even to do my side job, which is this right here. The easiest fucking job in the world. It makes it difficult to do simply because of how worn down I am at the end of a work week. Like it makes it harder to play with my children. It makes it harder to interact with people in the real world. It makes it harder to even think because of how much I contribute to society. And so many of us are dealing with those same issues. And then you have diseases, you have people being crippled, you have all of this shit that sure you'd be able to get a prescription for, but for what? For THC? For a RSO pill that they fucking shittily made because they don't understand the process? Because they're not going to hire us. They're not going to be like, all right, man, you've been growing at home for how many fucking years? You're obviously qualified. No, because everything that is proper cuts on the bottom line, which is not what they want. They want cheap product that's done like garbage that they can shill out to people who will be like, well, it's weed, so. It has been a minute. It has been quite a while. Tim Yak, that is absolutely criminal. That is called fucking highway robbery. Yeah, burnout's super real, and that's one of the biggest reasons I took such a long break. Like before my video on my like I don't know if you want to call it a documentary, but like before the video I just posted like this past week, I hadn't posted in like 79 days, 73 days, something like that. And the biggest reason is because of burnout. And the second biggest reason is because I was like reconnecting with family. A family member moved up. I had my weekends kind of planned out because I was hanging out with them most of the time. But the biggest thing, like I could have found the time if I woke up earlier, but I can't wake up any earlier because I'm so fucking exhausted. And like I do feel a heavy obligation to come do this like for my passion, for my work, because I have a space in here and I do belong here and I should be a voice. for people who are voiceless or people who aren't representing themselves in any kind of way, or even just sharing information. Like, I have a moral obligation to do that when it comes to this plant, simply because of how long I've advocated for it. Okay, but decriminalizing isn't the answer either. So I work in masonry. So I'm carrying giant fucking blocks all day, every day. 80-pound bags of mortar I throw around like nobody's fucking business. Lifting heavy pieces of concrete, giant slabs of stone, running around appeasing old fucking grouchy men, getting bitched at all day, every day, most of the time. And that's on a busy day. And somehow, the less busy days are even worse. Because, like, you pick up something every once in a while, you don't get your joints moving and grooving, and you don't fucking, like, the days where it's hard to find something to do are somehow the hardest on your body and the hardest on your mind because you're not making as much money. So that's what I've kind of been dealing with. So, like, you burn a lot of calories doing that, and you lift a lot, and you do, like, a very labor-intensive job. It makes you fucking too exhausted to do anything after work, frankly. And it makes it harder to wake up in the morning, but it's like you got to do it because you got to provide for your family. And I'm not making any money here. Not anything that's notable, at least. So it's like I do this as a side thing, as a passion project, because I care about it so much. And the reason I know I'll never stop growing, even though I do have to take a break financially, to catch up on some things and pay off some debt, is simply because I care about my family more now than I do about making media. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
Turd and wrapping it up and then giving it to someone on Christmas.
And I'm not trying to claim I have the biggest problems in the world, but
up. Like, it looks nice, doesn't it?
Anyone in my position would have a really hard time.
And it's like, shit, it's the same turd. That's reclassification. It's deschedule or nothing. Cannabis is not something that needs to be listed on some schedule list by the DEA. It is not. It's not. It doesn't deserve it. It's nowhere near that. I've got a lot of respect for people like Danny Danko, Todd McCormick. Both are people that I've spoke to here. They were in studio on the TV. And I understand that they were very enthusiastic about rescheduling because it's movement. And it was those two gentlemen in particular that made me realize, okay,
landscaping is tough too, which
I can't be such a cynical asshole. There is
in landscaping is something I've been thinking about, making a side hustle to actually make like immediate money. Because this whole media thing is like a slow grind. I've been working at this for over 5, maybe 6 years now. And frankly, the financial part of it isn't there. I love the community. I love having the conversations. That's why I keep coming back. I love showing you guys my grows and everything. And that's why I keep doing content for you guys. And it's rewarding in its own way, but I do need to make more money. That is the bottom line. So I'm looking into side hustles. I'm looking into side work. I'm looking into potentially getting a part-time job on the side also, just to be able to have financial freedom. I'm looking into making music too, which if you start a music career, I guarantee you would have an easier time starting a music career than you would starting a cannabis YouTube channel, which I'm going to have a video like coming out of why you should not start a cannabis YouTube channel coming up in the future. So if you guys want to see that, that's probably going to be coming out this week, towards the end of this week.
Sure.
When you've got smoke-free satisfaction, you've got the freedom to do things your way. Get $20 off.
That the conversation is happening. That is the positivity. The fact that we're here now having this conversation and spreading awareness and getting the next generation excited, that's great. There is positivity there, but there's no positive in a rewrapped turd. But what do you think? I put the same argument on decriminalization. I know you've heard this 100 times, but I'm firm on decriminalization is just a distraction.
Yep.
So politicians can take the idea of making this legal and putting some legislation.
Even if you just did fall cleanups and prune bushes and cleaned up dead plant material, good money and effort for the effort it takes. Yeah, I'm sure. I just have to find clientele and then actually like go and do that, and that's just it seems like a super daunting task, even though I'm sure it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things. It's just so fucking, man, life is just so hard. you know
On it, putting some policy on it, making it so children can't have access to.
I'm crippled from working too hard. I've done concrete, roofing, landscaping, ran a jackhammer, and high work on the outside of high-rise buildings. I can relate. Yeah, physical. I've been in physically demanding work all of my life, and it's not easy any way you swing it. And I have literal fucking stress-induced arthritis, which is bringing down my quality of life. I have intense fatigue, which is bringing down the quality of my life. So I 100% can relate. I feel like my brain is being turned to mush when I do like the mind numbing work, especially on a job we're on right now, which I don't want to get into too much detail about, but it's just like you don't know what's coming next. The people who are running the job just kind of seem like they're like making stuff up just to keep you there. It's frustrating. And meanwhile, a lot of our company is laid off, making 60% of the money that they would get paid just sitting at home doing whatever they want. So meanwhile, they could be doing side projects and making fucking 100% to 200% of the money that they would be making on side projects if they have proper clientele. Meanwhile, we can't do our own thing because now we're obligated to work to go and make 100% of the money, which is not that much money when you could potentially be making more if you applied yourself on the outside world and you actually had a more flexible schedule than 2 days during the weekend or a couple hours after work a couple of days. And then it's like, I have a family established now, so it's like, when do I spend time with them? Gotta love how rewarding those fields are, minus the pain and burnout that it comes with. I'm sure it can be rewarding. I've had a lot of jobs that felt more rewarding than others, especially the one I'm working on right now. But being able to do work for people who appreciate it really fucking comes in handy. And people who compensate you appropriately. Like, we had a prevailing wage job. I didn't mind going to that job. I didn't mind working my ass off in the fucking sun doing the tedium that it required. I did not have a problem going to that job because I felt I was being paid appropriately for my time and effort. But my regular rate just is not cutting it, and that's the big issue.
Smokables, making sure
because they won't put me back on that job for whatever reason.
Sold too close to schools. There are some valid laws that should go around it. But the reality is you can't have.
That's the truth too, Jonathan.
If you're going to
bosses don't care about you; they care about their profits.
Just taking it from the legislature to the judicial branch. So now instead of it being legal or having some kind of classification or some kind of stance or prominence, it's now simply not criminal. So politicians don't need to do anything anymore. They're not going to pass anything. They're not going to make it any better. They're just going to make it so that you don't go to jail for having weed. Okay, great. But they can still fine you out the ass. You can still look at thousands of dollars of fines for possession, traveling with it, manufacturing, distribution. If it's not criminal, but it's not legal, it's still illegal to grow it, still illegal to smoke it, still illegal to distribute it, still illegal. It's everything. It's not criminal. So you don't go to jail, but you can still be fined out the wazoo. Our government is legitimately just going to take your money out of your pocket instead of throwing you in jail. What's the difference? So don't be.
In my opinion, if a crime is only a crime if a poor person does it, meaning you can pay your way out of it with fines, then it's not a crime, it's just a way to make money. My doctor told me to get an office. I asked him, will you hire me to work in an office? He just laughed and said no. Yeah, that's a big problem. He said, oh, well, you need an office job, but like, you can't get an office job. That would be ridiculous. I wouldn't necessarily qualify that as ironic. I don't know. It's an interesting coincidence. But yeah, no, talking about labor on Labor Day, talking about getting the voices out, the appreciation for the people who actually build this country from the ground up, quite literally. Um, and you do deserve recognition. Did you guys see, by the way, long weekend sale at Target instead of Labor Day sale? I think it was Target at least. Fucking, they literally call it the long weekend sale. You can see it on screen right now. They don't call it the Labor Day sale because they don't want to acknowledge the laborers. And apparently on Memorial Day, they don't do a Memorial Day sale. They do a beginning of summer or welcome to the summer sale. They are not acknowledging these holidays. Hired me to carry all the heavy inventory. Last job I had for someone making $21 an hour, landscape foreman. That doesn't even tempt me anymore. No, fucking $21 an hour for a landscape foreman is fucking criminal. And getting paid $9 an hour at all is fucking criminal.
Labor Day sales have officially started at Target, and they start today and end on Monday, so go get you some. Let's go around, and I'll show you which ones are the best. There's a bunch of clothing deals. There's 20%.
Long weekend sale. It is not a Labor Day sale. These people calling it a Labor Day sale? No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a long weekend sale. It says right there. They don't acknowledge Labor Day.
Off women's tees, tanks, and sweatshirts. 30% off adult denim. Discounts for all brands, so we love that. 20% off shoes for all.
They're celebrating a long weekend with 20% off. They're not acknowledging the laborers that work there. They're not celebrating the people that generate the revenue for them. And the thing is, too, with that is if minimum wage kept up with inflation, do you want to know how much you would have to pay people per hour if minimum wage actually kept up with inflation? Does anyone know the answer? Because I do. See if anyone knows. Because it's a stupid number. Yep. Nate C got it right right off the bat. $66 an hour. Meanwhile, 66, 65, it's somewhere in the 60s. Somewhere in the 60s. To have the same buying power that your grandparents had for minimum wage when it was first established. And if it kept up with inflation, it would be $66 an hour. And people wonder why the fuck we're struggling. My baby's crying. I'll be right back. I'll see what's up. I'll see if I can alleviate the issue. I might have to cut off the stream. Give me a minute. Yeah, it's harder to build now because there's not as many resources. Well, there's not as many resources and there's not as much space. And then people are like buying residential housing when they own businesses and they can buy as much as they want, and then they're renting it out at astronomical prices. And then overprescribing pain medication is a fucking huge issue, and it always has been. And I'm sorry, Sir Johnson, that you had to take so many pills that they literally prescribed you Narcan because they were like, you're gonna overdose if you take all this medication, but like, you need it. So I'm not cool with how America is right now. I love the land, hate the country, or love the land, hate the government. And that's just kind of how it's been for a very long time. And it just somehow keeps getting worse. They find new ways to make me hate them. And not enough good doctors? Fuck no. They do so much rotten shit. The reason we were talking about minimum wage or inflation was because we brought up, or I brought up, rather, Chuck Bailey, the long weekend sale and how they're not recognizing the laborers at Target. Took so much Vitican the last time I had suicidal and homicidal rage, and now you are deemed to be allergic to it. Yeah, Sir Johnson, those are the that's the kind of life I want to be able to live. If my wife wants to be a stay-at-home mom, I believe she should be allowed to be a stay-at-home mom. If she wants to work 10 hours a week, I believe she should be allowed to have that option. But don't use women having rights as a way to pay us less just because we can make two incomes in a household now, and then make it to the point where we're forced to have 5 roommates to have something decently livable. That's just not how it should work. But I do have to cut off the stream, unfortunately. I had a good time talking to you guys, and I appreciate all the love and support. Cannabis legalization with me today. So I will see you guys next time. If you're new, hit the subscribe button, like, share, all that good stuff.